not her activities. How you get me? Wisdom is justified of her children. The people, the children that she has given birth to. When you see this one, say, somebody met me at one station. Do you Mintah Bano? I say yes. So, me who wanna me who here? He didn't know me from anywhere. He just met me. Do you Mintah Mani Binuana? I say yes. Why? Because he saw my father's face, maybe in my face somehow, or maybe his features, maybe in me somehow. That is discipleship. You see, Satan has a nightmare. He had a nightmare when Jesus was walking on the earth. But he has a greater nightmare when he sees Jesus reflecting his nature and his image in people. And that is discipleship. Listen, discipleship is to raise people to be like Christ. It's not to raise people to be like you. Listen, we have gotten it wrong. And you see people trying to dress like the senior pastor, trying to arrange their hair like the senior pastor, trying to talk like him. That is not discipleship. That is not what it's about at all. We have missed it. How you get TV? So maybe I'll wear my logo, the logo here. Then you see all the people wearing logo here. Say, we are disciples of that issue. Okay, that one, you may be my disciple, but it doesn't mean that you are a disciple of Jesus Christ. My job is not to raise you to be like me. I failed. If I raise you to be like me, I failed. My job is to raise you to be like Jesus. Because I am also following Jesus. Paul said, follow me only as I follow Christ. Not to be like me, to talk like me. You see, the template for discipleship that we're using now, the template for mentorship that we are using now is wrong. Because we raise people to look like us. Physically, yes, your children might look like you, physically. But spiritually, they must look like Christ. Or if you are looking like Christ, then you give them an example to follow. But do you know, for instance, God can give me, let's say, 10 people to raise them. If I do a good work, those 10 people, I must be able to raise them to release their uniqueness. Because they are like instruments. So God has brought different instruments into your hand. Feed them. Now you can feed them the same food. Okay? But the beauty of the word is that as you are feeding them the same food, you keep feeding them, the drum will play a different sound. The organ will release a different tune. The guitar will release another sound. And yet, they will all blend beautifully to produce a harmonious sound. There's no dissonance. Because they are all working towards one goal, even though they are differently abled, wired. So discipleship is not to let people pray like you pray. When I say pray like me, not that if your tongue is kaya, your disciple must also do kaya. Ow! Holy cow! But you see, very soon you will see that maybe our little brothers from our side, they are praying like, ooh, wah. Even though there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm trying to say that that is not the template. I get to it. Yeah, so sometimes when we have charismatic leaders, for instance, when I say charismatic people who respond to the crowd, you will notice that those that he's raising, there are some that will also try to be charismatic. They'll try to respond to the crowd. But it will not work. Because that's not their personality. I get me. That's not. There are some that cannot do shout fire, yeah. Shout fire, and they jump in and inciting the crowd. And they would think that because they are not able to do what Papa is doing, it means that they are not real sons. No. See, the focus should be, I'm raising you to be like Christ. There's something in you that I must help you for it to come out. It's not, you are not supposed, what is in me, what God has put in me, is different from what God has put in you. The same grace, but different manifestations. But the same destination, the same goal. So people coming around you, you should not be imposing your personality on them. There are many people around me, and I deal with each of them according to their personality. Jesus had 12 disciples. Okay? 12 apostles. They were first disciples. Now, among the disciples of Jesus, you have a Peter who is always the first to ask questions. Most of the time, he will goof. But he will be the first person. Is that Peter could not handle, he had to respond. So Jesus will say, one of you will betray me. You have labored with me. You have this, I'll give you a throne. In the 3 version, Peter said, then who will betray you? He targeted Jesus. If you are saying this, then who will betray you? That's his personality. And you have somebody who is cool, doubting like Thomas. Thomas is someone who is very cautious. When you are saying something, he just stay back and be doing this. We'll be asking a question. Okay, let's try. Let's try. Maybe it can be done. Then we have James and John, sons of thunder. They, if you don't take care, they will take the microphone and preach. That's their. They say, shall we call down fire to come? They are always on the go. Then we have Matthew, tax collector. He's always calculating. This thing that you are saying, have you sat down to look at the budget? You see, Then we have Andrew, the peacemaker. In the Bible, Andrew was always bringing people to Christ. We have no food. We have no food to feed the multitude. Then Andrew will bring a little boy. The Greeks were looking for Jesus. Andrew will bring them. So Andrew was somebody who was always like a connector. All these people, they were around Jesus. And yet, he didn't put pressure. He didn't say, hey, Peter, you talk too much. That's pride. That you have to change. So Peter will try to be somebody who talks softly. Like maybe John or maybe Andrew. And so Peter will have to pretend. Or James and John. He said, hey, you people, you rush too much. Because they were people who were always, they were wild people. When they denied Jesus' visa to Samaria, it was James and John who said, shall we call down fire to come and burn them? Like Elijah did. Jesus called them sons of thunder, bondages. Because of their sharp, you see, they were people who were wild people. Wild. So, discipleship is not like changing somebody's personality or letting the person conform to some kind of. There are some people, for instance, by nature, they don't struggle to cause people to laugh. We have some of them also in our constituency. I mean, now, so does it mean that you should force the person to change? So, no, we mean business here. Yeah. All these things, you be beyond the joke. Masa, what's that? Those things, that's not, so when you present the word to the people, the word will transform everybody, and yet they will not lose their uniqueness. There's a template now going around in the church, and unfortunately, up and coming men of God, young men who are in ministry, they are also copying that template for discipleship. So now we emphasize on form, not substance. The real thing about teaching, training, then you say, this is the meaning of that parable. You see, that's discipleship. So when you are giving that task to disciple a person, that's what you should do. Have time to answer their questions. Do you know why I always love to do question and answers? I started that in 2015. I had that idea in 2015. We were at a retreat here. Then I asked them to ask questions. That was when I discovered that many of our members were listening to one particular man of God. Because the questions they were asking were questions that were quite dangerous. One of them said that the man of God said, hell, the two substances that will be used in hell are sulfur and brimstone. And these two, they are purifying agents. So hell is not for destruction, it's for purification. So when you are cast into hell, you are going to be purified. Then later you will come back to heaven. And so Satan will even get to a point where he will be purified. And God will use him again. So when the guy asked the question, I said, who did you hear this thing from? That was after the program. Because they were asking similar questions. Then he mentioned the man of God's name. I said, okay, I'll go to his church. At that time, we had not started TMI. So I went to his church one Sunday. As I was entering, I asked the usher, when are you closing? Because I have to go somewhere. When are you closing? Oh, we don't have a closing time. Anytime you are tired, you can go. I said, what kind of arrangement is that? He said, no, because he preaches for 3 hours. After that, he answers questions for 3 hours. Then we break into, he preaches for 3 hours. After that, you break into groups, Bible studies, to discuss the preaching. Then you come back. It's a question and answer session. It takes 2 hours, 3 hours. So by the time we leave here, sometimes after that one, we can pray. So any time the Spirit says we should go, then we go. That's okay. Then I cannot stay. So then he said that, oh, but there's a book that he has written. There's a book that we follow. They have a big book, a book full of the teachings of that man of God that they follow and all that. Then I said, can I have a copy of that book? So he gave me, I bought one copy, then I bought a magazine. That is his magazine, the church's magazine. I also bought that one, and I brought them home. I wanted to study, because for a person to say something like this, you have to also know, you see, before I can advise my people that don't go here, I must investigate. So you know what I did? He was at that time on Capital Radio, on Angel TV. Angel TV was Saturday 6 p.m. I listened to him twice. The Capital Radio, I listened to him like 3 times. Then I drew my conclusion. Don't go there anymore. As a shepherd, I've done my part. Because my duty is to protect the flock. At that time, he was very, the people were listening, all that. The students listening to him and all that. So, and these things, you don't just, so I discussed with fellow men of God also. You know, I said, this person, do you know him? I don't know him, but I've heard, do you know him? Oh, I know him. So one day he went to a place to preach that at a point in your life, good and evil, they are the same. No need to differentiate between good and evil. Don't say that this person committed fornication, that I know that they are nothing like that. Because there was a tree of good, knowledge of good and evil. So he said that even some schools banned him from preaching. You know how I had all this information? Because I researched. So then I had to find a way of telling some people who have been going there, don't go there again. There's somebody who is still going there, of a Christ person who is still going there. I don't know, now the person is not in Kumasi, so I don't know whether she goes there. But I see her, what do you call that one? DP, and it's communicating some zodiac, zodiac and cosmic, those terms. Yeah, astrology. Now, so the reason why I did that was that I had to be able to warn the people who will listen, who are in my fold, to tell them that this place don't go. It's not all the, I mean, when you say people should not go to a place, it shouldn't be because of anything. It should be because that place is injurious to their soul. They are going to come up warped, destroyed. Because your doctrine has a direct impact on your disciples. So they said, they questioned Jesus on his disciples and his doctrine. So there are certain things, for instance, you can learn. Do you know that whatever is happening in a ministry, for instance, do you know, for instance, nobody can come and preach at our camp meetings if I don't invite a person? Do you know that? Now, if I am somebody who doesn't like the prophetic, listen, no. If I don't like the prophetic, maybe I despise the prophetic, chances are that I will never invite a prophet to come and minister at our meetings. So, as I'm raising you, I will also raise you to despise prophets. Because I'm raising you to despise what I despise. So you see a whole church, they don't have space for one ministry out of the 5. They only have space for 1 out of the 5. Let's say a whole church. Even today, a whole denomination, it's okay. Now we will accept 1 out of 5. We don't accept evangelists. We accept pastors, teachers, evangelists. We don't accept prophets and apostles. We don't have that in our space. Why? Because somebody decided to raise them according to his heart. That's why you can't escape. That is why before God will entrust people into your hand, if you follow God's path, then you have to work on your heart. Because you determine what comes in, what comes out. You can be sure that I will never invite somebody and tell the person, raise funds for me. You can be sure about that. That behind the scenes, raise. You know, that lady, Karen, she told me that she has gotten a breakthrough. 50,000 Ghana cedis. At least get some 10,000 for us. I'll give you her name. She usually sits at the... When you see somebody who is laughing, just laughing, that's her. so the guy will come and say, who is Karen? Who is Ka? I hear Ka. see, so now I determine who the kind of, so so that's why, so if I despise teachers, like I will rate this ministry to despise teachers. Now, what is teaching? Now, we don't want more. Teachers are boring. You come and say point 1, point 2. No. Forget that thing. We want akwanchire. So I'll be inviting people with akwanchire. That you should understand why some churches and ministries, because the leader of the ministry, whether I like it or not, your heart will determine the scope that can come into the scope of people that can come into the ministry. Because nobody can come without your permission. And that is why I don't take lightly inviting people. No. Very particular about that one. And if you don't take care. Then number 2, the doctrine that you are teaching is going to affect the people. And so, discipleship, the manual for discipleship should be the Bible. As much as possible, you see, there's nothing wrong with using experience to illustrate a point. Are you getting me? Illustrate a point. But don't use your experiences to disciple people. Use the Bible. Then your experiences can illustrate points in the Bible. When you are counseling people, use the word. Don't use your experience. Use the word first. Then a story or two will throw light on the word. You see, for instance, somebody can come to you and the person is sharing something with you, and you must go to the word. Let the person know the position of the word on what he's saying. Don't go and say, even this person did this, and even this man of God. So I mean, yours, what you are doing, I mean, yours is not that bad. Even this man of God also did this or said this. No, you are trying to counsel the person on experience. Use the word. Let the word be the focal point. That's why we give attention to teaching. Systematic, well-coordinated, structured the dispensing of truth. That is what will lead to transformation. So when you are discipling people, see, that's why from the month of February, for instance, we are going to enter into Bible study. So everybody in this church, this ministry, are going to get at least two people that you are going to disciple. Starting with the JHS people, there's a manual that is already ready, rooted. That's the manual we're going to be using. And so you're going to get it printed. You buy one, and then you buy one for your disciple. If possible. Hey, but you think discipleship is cheap? It's not cheap. Your disciple, at first, you have to invest in them because they don't know the value of the book that you are giving them. But later, they will invest. You have to teach them to invest in their spiritual life. But maybe beginning. So if you get a disciple, that's why there's a manual. You follow the manual. Teach them. When they ask questions, you can use certain things to explain. But make sure you follow the teaching, because the doctrine is very important. We have to protect the doctrine so that it's not corrupted. Because if you allow people to use experience to disciple people, see, that's the problem we're having now in the body of Christ. There are many people right now, they listen to men of God, and the men of God will share their experiences. They are sharing their experiences just to help you get the point they are making. People love to hear those stories. They don't want to listen to the substance, the teaching, but they love the stories. When you go on YouTube, sometimes when I go on YouTube, I see certain captions of certain men of God. They are, I don't know whether they are bloggers or they are media people. Certain caption. I said, why this caption? Because if the person is, so sometimes when the person is actually preaching, the caption is just sensational. Just to let you go and watch. Because they know you like gossip. Just and tidbits. so they will say, this man of God did this, and somebody nearly did this. So that you go and watch and find out what he did. When you watch, you say the man of God is saying more than a story. But you see, the thing is that people don't have time to, they don't have that hunger for the word. They just want to pick on stories. Somebody called me and said that he has a problem. I said, what's the problem? He said that I've been praying. I know I've been praying. I thought I was praying quite well, but then I listened to a man of God who said that if you are 20 years, you have not prayed for 10 hours, you are a joke. You are a joke. And so now I tried, and I'm getting discouraged. And I know that man of God. I know that he's a sound person. So I said, did you listen to the whole message? And do you know the congregation he was talking to, did he say it was a scripture, it was doctrine? Or it was something he was saying? Because where have you ever seen in the Bible that if you don't pray for 10 hours, you were a joke? By age 20, you were a joke. What is the biblical foundation for that? I said he was sharing his experience and his conviction. Maybe, for instance, I know that man of God, for instance, in their ministry, how they assess your readiness for the work of God is to pray for 10 hours. That's how they call it. He calls it, I forgot it. It's like they are testing you. He said somebody came to me and the person said that God said I should work with you. He said an angel came to tell me that I should be in your ministry. They said, oh, no problem. Then he called the prayer director. Please take him through some drills. And the drill is 10-hour prayer, non-stop. He said the guy never came back. I mean, that is a way that maybe he has adopted to this Trinity. But you don't have to copy that. For instance, like I come and say, I'm copying it. So now, before you become an elder Kofi, elder Isaiah, now you have to go through prayer drill 10 hours. That's it, Elder Emma, please. Ascertain whether these men are ready for eldership. That would be a joke if you copy it. But for him, that may be something that he has come to understand. At least he said it will help you open your channels. Do you know? So that's why everything should be based on scripture. So discipleship, we are basing it on the Bible, not on personal experience. I can share experience to illustrate what the Bible is saying. But I should not replace what the Bible is saying, or I should not make my experience take the place of the teaching, the actual teaching. Said that you are now quoting my experience, not quoting scripture. My experience should be validated by scripture. That is one problem we are having now in the body of Christ. If someone can make a statement, it will not take time to really delve deep to see the bigger foundation of the statement. It will just be run around with it. And we borrow definitions because somebody said it. And the reason why I started the question and answers, okay, I'm coming to that, was because I realized that in this world, if you think you are the only one teaching your congregation, you are living in a fool's paradise. Because you see, now we are in a global village. People have access to teachings on the internet, YouTube, Facebook, whatever now is even increasing. So if you think you are the only one screaming into their ears, you will make a mistake. So what I do is that I allow you to ask questions so that I can pick on some of the things that you have picked outside, which are not biblical. Then I will teach you. Now I will not stop you from listening to other people. I don't have that authority to do that. But I would rather help you by letting you ask. So if you hear, so when I open the floor, for instance, people can ask questions. I know that they listen to this person. I know where that thing is coming from, but I can't say don't listen because the person doesn't. The person is not a bad person. I get to. So I will not say don't listen to him, but I rather correct certain things that I think were excesses. But now people shop for teachings. Yeah, people shop for teachings. You know, and you see somebody will go on YouTube, and people don't like to. If you are searching for teaching, I mean, you then look for teaching that you can sit down, listen, and make notes. People want short messages, quick word, short videos, and that's what they are using for their spiritual nourishment. No, you are making a mistake. It's not coordinated. Quick word is just. I'm using quick word as an example because it comes from me. Quick word is just an excerpt of a message. And the idea of quick word is for you to listen and be interested in the whole message so that you will go and look for the message and listen to it well. But there are some people who, that's what they're interested in. I remember there was somebody who said that he wanted me to father him. The person is not in this ministry, and usually when you tell me that, I'll tell you, okay, let me pray about it. And when I have a conviction, I'll tell you, go to Play Store, download my app, or go to this place, get my teachings, start listening to them, and start asking questions. We'll take it from there. So if you are interested, that's the formula I'll give you. Listen to my teachings, and then start asking questions. Because I don't know you that much. So if you want, that's what you should. So I realized this person was listening to quick word and all that. Then I said, no, I'm not referring to this one. I said, go to the app. I said, especially the minister's retreat. The one that I can speak for 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours. That one, sit down with them and listen. If you really want to follow somebody, I mean, quick word, how can you follow quick word and say you are listening to my teachings? No. You have to listen to the full messages. 2 hours, then you are there, making notes. That's how we grow. And the teachings have been structured. They are structured. They are well coordinated. That's why sometimes we have series, so that there will not be gaps in your information. When you don't like following series, you can have gaps. You listen to this one. This one is saying. This one is saying. Prayer and fasting is not really necessary. Go for the word. This one is saying you must be a fasting machine. This one is saying if you want God's favor, you must be a fasting Christian, a fasting machine. This one is saying, no, you must be somebody who lives in the word. This one is saying, so many people are confused because they go shopping. They don't take time to sit down and listen. So they inquired of the disciples. I'm ending now because we have to break. They inquired of the disciples and his doctrine, because that's God's formula for taking territories. God's formula for taking territories is discipleship doctrine. God's formula for expansion of the church doctrine, discipleship. Teaching them for them to mentor others. Go to Genesis 14, verse 13 coming. Let me show you something. This is God's formula. Then one who had escaped came and told Abraham the Hebrew, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they were allies with Abraham. 14. Now, when Abraham heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants who were born in his own house and went in pursuit as far as Dan. He divided his force against them by night, and he and his servants attacked them and pursued them as far as Hobah, which is north of Damascus. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. Now, this is the way God designed that territories will be taken. Territories will be recovered. You know, Abraham had 318 trained servants. They were born in his house. And he had trained them. If you check the word armed, he armed them. What it means is that he released himself into them. He armed, because they were already there. Okay? Already trained. But he armed them. He equipped them. There was an impartation. Are you getting me? It's like he had 318 servants who had been brought up, trained in his house. But there was war, and he armed them, equipped them, imparted to them, released himself to them. So as they were going, there were different manifestations of Abraham going to fight. And so as he was attacking these people, these one were attacking these people. He didn't need to leave this side to come and, no. As far as they were there, he was okay. And he was attacking this. That's how discipleship is. These were people who were homegrown. A homegrown army. Homegrown army. That's discipleship. They were trained in the house and they were equipped to do the same thing Abraham was doing. Abraham was fighting here and they were fighting there. Not until we raise people to be able to do what we are doing, we have not finished the job. By reason of consistent, constant engagement, exposure, teaching, impartation, and all that, people should also be able to do what you are doing. Because the oil that is upon the head of Aaron was not just for Aaron. It didn't stay there. It came down to his beard, down to the hem of his garments. So the oil upon your head, it doesn't stay there. That's why when God is appointing people to help you in ministry, he imparts to them the same spirit. You see, he appointed 70 elders in Israel. He said, I will take the same spirit upon you, Moses, and I'll put that same spirit upon the elders. Why? So that you can think alike. That was the spirit of wisdom. So that you can have the same care. So that you can have the same burden. So that when you, Moses, you are here, and the elders are also, some of them are here, you will not be worried. Because you will know they are thinking, have the same burden. That's why Jesus spent time with the 12. He spent more time with the 12 than with the crowd. That's why when he left, they were still doing the things that he was doing on earth here. So discipleship is, he said, what you have learned of me, commit thou also unto faithful men who can also teach others. It's a cycle. You don't have to break the cycle. What you have learned of me is that thing, commit to faithful men who can also teach others. So the cycle is ongoing. It's not broken. So the template is the word. The method. If you want to disciple people, like we're going to do, So, let's say you have 2 people you are discipling, just 2. But these are people that we are counting on you to raise them to be able to become spiritual, mature people. A time will come, they also disciple other people. The formula for discipleship, number 1, okay, let me give you, let's say 4 things you can do to raise disciples. 4 things. And I will end with those 4 things. We will break for questions and then we will break for the final break. 4 things that will help you in raising disciples. That is with an understanding that you yourself, you are a disciple. Okay. Now, the first thing is to... Okay, which one comes first? Okay, teach them. Teach them. So don't take it for granted that they must learn. You must teach. You don't have a right to expect anything you have not taught people. Yeah, if you have not taught them, you don't have a right to expect from them. I get you. You must teach them first, then you expect something from them. That I've taught you this thing, so why are you not doing it? So the teaching is, the manual is the word of God. We are teaching them as we'll be giving out the book, going through it step by step and all that. Okay. Now, as you teach them, the second thing is model it for them. Be an example of what you are teaching. Your example will adorn. You see, Titus, Paul told Titus, said, let them adorn the gospel of Christ with good works. The gospel is to be adorned. Adorn means to be decorated or to be dressed by your example. So what you are teaching the people or the person will look at you to see whether you are following what you are teaching them. So in the manual, for instance, there's a place where you teach on quiet time. You can never secure that thing in somebody's life if you yourself, you don't do it. Okay? So you are teaching the person how to have a quiet time, but you don't do a quiet time. Your teaching will lack power to change. If you don't model what you are teaching, you are teaching this one, and then your life, you are doing this one. It will carry no power. So the second stage is to teach, to model it for them. The third thing is relationship. 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 So, when you are discipling people, you must have a relationship with them. You see, all those who Jesus worked with, Bible records that he went to Peter's mother-in-law. So he knew Peter's mother-in-law. He was not his relative. So how did he get to know Peter's mother-in-law? Because of the growing relationship he had with Peter. Because by all means, if you are people are in a relationship that you are growing, you will get to know other members of their family. I get it. So if you say you are raising people, if you say I'm raising this person, along the line, I will have an encounter with people that he's also connected with. Because he has an ecosystem of relationship. You will have an encounter with them by all means. Which means that discipleship goes beyond just sit down, open the Bible, let's read Psalm 1. So the Bible says this is okay, let me pray for you. Okay, go. See you next week. It goes beyond that. If that was the end, there will be no discipleship. So Jesus went to Peter's mother-in-law's house. James and John, their mother, came to see Jesus and said, when you become a king finally, I want my 2 sons, one to sit on your left, one on your right. Why was she able to come to Jesus? There was a relationship. So it wasn't like he would just meet them, teach them, that they will go. That's why we have to break it down so that everybody will get somebody that he's responsible for. So actually, for effective pastoring to be carried out in the church, it has to be a small church. Now, if you become a big church, then there must be smaller groups or units in the church. If, let's say, I'm pastoring 5 people, pastoring will be very easy. There was a point where I was taking care of new converts in a church, a branch. So, and I knew there were not many. There were like 15 people at that time. I knew everybody. I knew their house. I knew their workplace. So on Wednesdays, I used to go there Wednesdays, Fridays, and then sometimes Sundays. On Wednesdays, at that time I was in the house after 6-4. I would take a taxi, then I would go to Tafo. I would get there as early as 3 p.m. Go to their shops. Go to their houses. Remind them that we're having a meeting this evening. You know, there was one that used to sell materials at Edum. I will go to him. I will give him a message to listen to our pastor's teachings. Then I'll go and then I'll discuss with him and all that. Now he's also a pastor now. He's a pastor. He's a pastor now. One was a seamstress. One was just in the house. There was one guy at Tafo. I used to go to him every Wednesday. I will pray with him. I will share the word with him. He will ask questions. And in our church at that time, we believe that if a person has not come to a point where he's really behaving in a certain way, like your speech is down, it's like we see that you are meek, you are not born again. So people have to force to conform. So this brother, I'll go to him, then when he sees me and I come around, oh yeah, see, Pachai. And if you don't say, we say Pachai and all that. So one day, we're not going to church. They were using the place for, I think, registration or something, the classroom. But the instruction came that at least we should go around as usual, so that, because they were new converts. So the guy, I didn't go on that day, that Wednesday, but we told them we will not be coming to church. So the guy thought that I will not be coming around. So I entered the house, and as I was going, I heard two ladies saying something. They said, "Hey, I need a baby room." I didn't know what they were talking about. So I went to the guy's room, and there was music playing. So I knocked, bah, bah, bah. No response. Bah, bah, bah. Why no? So I knocked again. When he opened the door and he saw me, he almost collapsed. There was a lady in the room. So then he said, should he bring a chair? Because usually when I go, I enter his room. He said, let me bring a chair. Let's sit down. Then we brought a chair. I sat down. Then as we sat down, and the lady came out. Then he left. And I said, who is she? Then he did something like, he said, he used to call me Brakwesi. He said, Brakwesi, mentimi akwantuo no. With the monko, me. You know, because he thought because of that, he had lost his salvation. And that was what we taught, you know, because that's what we were taught at that time. So I was so broken. As I was coming, I was very broken. But see, that is true discipleship. You don't just meet a person at church and say, oh, how are you? True pastoring, it goes beyond church. But when the church is big, you cannot do it. So you have to divide. So what we are going to do, you are going to do pastoring. So it's like I'm shifting what I have to do to you. Because I'm supposed to equip you for the work of the ministry. So don't say that the Joe didn't come to my house. I may come if it's necessary, but somebody else will come in. Because these ones, little ones, for instance, the young leaders, the way they have been going about it, that is, they are doing effective discipleship. Because they don't, it's not like some of them. It's not like they just minister to them, maybe at the service. No, they go beyond that. Some of them, their money goes, some of their money go into it. Okay, because it's like your money will sometimes even go into it. It is why it's not the church will. I'm talking about you personally. So don't always bring a budget and